This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblue, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network here on the Monday after. I call this the Monday after the end of most college football regular season. It's the insane Monday after, the Monday after South Carolina, the Palmetto Bowl for 2021, Palmetto Bowl number 118, Clemson consecutive victory number 7 in the Palmetto Bowl. What a performance by the Tigers Saturday night, and what a poor performance by South Carolina on Saturday night. Not a whole lot to say from here. I want to hear what you have to say. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. You'll be lucky to get through, so go ahead and dial us up and roll the dice, scratch that ticket, and see if you can join us here on Sports Talk. I want to get your thoughts about what you saw on Saturday night, where you think things are headed from here, and of course, all the major developments over the weekend. What a sports weekend on and off the fields. It's the crazy time of the year in college sports, in college football in particular, which is, it's kind of a sad time of the year because coaches are leaving, coaches are getting fired, players are transferring left and right. It is chaos. It is chaos in college football. Is it? Well, it keeps everybody about what's happening in college football one way or the other, whether it's about a coach or about a player. Is that all good for the product? I guess the conversation's always good, kind of like the rankings used to be a great piece of conversation. Now the rankings, during the ones that come out on Sunday, that's more of a beauty contest. The only rankings that matter are the ones that come out for the college football playoff. So we got all that to talk about, plenty of news to catch you up on. It's the start of another recruiting cycle with coaches able to hit the road starting on Sunday for in-home visits with the 2022 crowd. And so we'll be updating recruiting, of course, as we do every night here on Sports Talk, but with an even a greater emphasis here over the next couple of weeks. The recruiting period is live from now through a week from Saturday, and then it's a quiet period on that Sunday so they can wrap up official visits, and then it goes dead going into the early signing period. So we have got plenty to talk about. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number right here on Sports Talk. And we're hoping to have Chris Bergen with us, of course, having a bit of a technical issue with our connection with Chris. We've got that on standby right now. We'll bring him in as quickly as possible as soon as we can get that worked out. As far as a couple of the top items of the day, and we'll get to phone calls in just a moment. Pat is working on our computer issue. As soon as he can get his attention back to our phone calls, we'll bring in our phone calls here momentarily. So I want to be straight up with you. For those of you already on hold, hang in there. We're going to get to you in just a moment. So we've got our new poll question of the week on our website and on our Twitter at SportsTalkSC and the website SportsTalkSC.com. Clemson extended the winning streak to 7 with another 30-point victory. They had been averaging 32 points per game over the previous 4 wins over South Carolina. So they added a 30-point win this time around. And so the question is, based on what you saw this season and what recruiting looks like for both, when would you expect USC to break the streak? The answers are 2022, 2023, 2024, and not this decade. 355 votes are in, and 48.5% say not this decade. 21.4% pointing towards 2023. 15.8% 2022. 14.4% 2024. So I expected a much better showing by the Gamecocks. I did not expect them to win. I ended up in our picking contest to actually pick Clemson to cover. But I did think that it would be a fourth quarter game in that I thought South Carolina would score a few points on Clemson and maybe hold them down some with their defense. But, of course, Clemson knocked in a late score to make it 30. Could have been 23, but they knocked in a late score. And people have asked, and I've seen people say, there you go, running it up. Why didn't they just let the clock run out, take a knee, what have you? Well, my answer to that is if South Carolina had not started calling timeouts in those last few minutes, showing that they still wanted to play the game, I think Dabo Swinney would have done that. But all they did was run the ball straight ahead. It's still up to your defense to stop them. They didn't do anything fancy. They did leave Uyangalele in the ball game longer than I thought. I don't know why Pumachan didn't get in there once the game was under control in the fourth quarter. I found that interesting, considering your starting quarterback is playing on a bad knee, why you left him in there. Still, I think the reason they continued to play and run plays to try to gain yards was because South Carolina was calling timeouts and keeping the game extended in that manner. You see that a lot. Coaches will say, well, if you hadn't called timeout, I wouldn't have done this. And I think maybe that was part of the reason for that. In the meantime, Clemson did have a linebacker to enter the NCAA transfer portal, John, Kane Patterson, another highly recruited, ballyhooed player that Clemson signed a couple of years ago but never could crack the field for the Tigers. So he's leaving and going elsewhere. What is the answer? I mean, are the recruiting analysts on your networks, are they that bad at analyzing players when they make them a 4-star and then they never get a chance to play in college? Are they that overrated? Are they not being developed by the coaches when they get there? What's the deal on that? I see so many 4-star guys, some 5-star guys who don't cut it where they sign and they hit the portal, John. So just something else to think about. And the other thing to talk about here before we get to your phone calls, of course, you've got all the movement of the coaches here. And the big one, of course, was Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma and going to Southern Cal. Don't know that anybody saw that coming that quickly. Oh, by the way, for those of you paying attention, and apparently a lot of you weren't, but for those of you paying attention, tip of the hat to our own Chuck Reedy. Last Wednesday night on Sports Talk, during our segment of Chalk Talk, Chuck Reedy said point blank that Billy Napier would be the new head coach at Florida by the end of the week. And, of course, your new head coach at Florida by the end of the week was Billy Napier. Chuck Reedy still tied into some stuff. The guy's got his hands on football knowledge and hamburgers. So shout out to the Comeback Shack there in Charleston and Chuck Reedy, and a great job on nailing it there with Napier going to Florida, where apparently he's going to get everything that he felt that he couldn't get at South Carolina in terms of analysts and recruiting office assistants and the recruiting budget and all that kind of stuff, whatever it was he was seeking when South Carolina was talking to him and he didn't feel like he was getting. Remember, we told you way back during that search that he pulled his name out after not getting some of the things, being told he wouldn't be getting some of the things he felt like he needed. And so, off he went in another direction. And so that led to, is it a report? It led to stuff on websites about Shane Beamer. And, of course, Shane Beamer having been at Oklahoma before coming to South Carolina. Very well liked at Oklahoma, of course, liked by the people out there, liked by the administration. And thus, some reporters, quote unquote, have put out there that Shane Beamer, and they've used the word candidate in terms of Shane Beamer and Oklahoma. And my response to that, and I put this on Twitter today, my response to that is, well, first of all, you're not a candidate for a job unless you actively seek the job. I mean, just go by the do words not have meaning? Do they not have definitions? We just throw words out there and, just to fill out a sentence, not really knowing what the word means. To be a candidate means to seek a job, okay? Just because an AD says he likes you or some boosters put on a message board that, man, we really like Shane Beamer or we like Joe Schmo, whatever the case may be, it doesn't make that person a, quote, candidate for the job. And so if he's a candidate for the job, so be it. If he's really going after, and why, if you're Shane Beamer, why wouldn't you? You were at Oklahoma. The pay is much better than what you've got at South Carolina. That job's going to pay, from what I'm told, whoever gets it, minimum $5-6 million. So you'd improve yourself dramatically in that way. You'd inherit a much better football program that doesn't require the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week rebuilding job you've got at South Carolina. And so if you're interested and you're a candidate and you've notified them that you're interested and you are indeed a candidate, then so be it. But in my world, and what I tweeted out today, if indeed Shane Beamer is a, quote, candidate for the job, I mean, that makes him along the lines of a Charlie Pell or even an Alec Murdaugh as one of the great liars in our state in recent history. And I know that's kind of harsh, but it's a harsh world that we live in, I'm afraid, especially on Twitter. Yeah, it's harsh, but tell me it's not true. I mean, Charlie Pell told Clemson people and told the media flatly he wasn't going to Florida before he got on the plane to Florida. And you all know about the Murdaugh case and what that's all about. And so for a year, Shane Beamer, since stepping on the campus at South Carolina, would tell anyone and everyone how this was his dream job. He doesn't want to be anywhere else, and all the right things and all the right reasons, and welcome home and all this, and a great campaign, and love everybody around South Carolina and come help us build this thing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all great. And I'm buying it. I'm believing him when he says this is where he wants to be. I'm believing him when he says this is the only place he wants to coach. I'm believing him when he says they can make South Carolina into a big-time winner. So I believe it. But if he's a candidate at Oklahoma, and I don't know that he is or he isn't, then all that's just a big, fat lie. Big, fat, garnet lie, if that's true. I would hope that he would put out a statement if all that's not true about Oklahoma, the rumors coming out of Oklahoma. If that's not true, put out a statement, and say, hey, I'm not interested in Oklahoma. I'm not interested in anywhere else. And you know what? This comes at a very bad time for him and his staff because it's recruiting time. And you have a hard enough time recruiting at South Carolina under normal circumstances. And now you've got this to deal with. Put out a statement. I mean, just make it clear to everybody. That's just a bunch of hooey. Welcome home. I love South Carolina. I'm building something here. We're off to a great start. And I'm not interested. I'm not a candidate anywhere else, period. And everybody would applaud you. And you know what? Nobody in the country would blame Shane Beamer if he were a candidate at Oklahoma and was offered the job at $5 or $6 million. Nobody in America would blame him for taking it, would they? I mean, it's America. You try to improve yourself, you try to set your family up, etc. But it would make everything that he has said to this point at South Carolina a big garnet lie. That's exactly what it would make. In the meantime, Clemson just goes along its business, except for maybe Brent Venables might be a possibility at Oklahoma. Odds are 15-1 on Venables being the next coach. Maybe Tony Elliott's going to get a true shot at Virginia Tech. One thing I was told this afternoon by somebody with a really good feel for this stuff about Jamie Chadwell and Virginia Tech. He's running into an issue of having no Power 5 conference experience. All of his college coaching experience has been on the next level or the level below. And I think that was one thing that hurt him at South Carolina with Ray Tanner, who thought he was too young and inexperienced. Of course, before Ray Tanner hired Will Muschamp, he thought that Lincoln Riley was too young and inexperienced. How'd that work out? And so I think like Virginia Tech, for example, from what I've told, has a real reservation about pursuing Jamie Chadwell for that reason, because he hasn't had any experience on the level, at that level, on the FBS level, high FBS level, Power 5. How Jamie gets around that, I don't know. I don't know how he gets around that. Maybe he just stays happy at Coastal and keeps winning games and winning a Sun Belt every now and then, going to bowl games and things like that. So anyway, we got all those topics to talk about. Is our computer fixed? Pat is not a happy guy right now.
No, if only you guys could see what I've been trying to do for the first 20 minutes of this show.
I've seen you walking over tables, going behind things, throwing things down, but you fixed it.
All good. We'll have Chris with us after the break.
All right. And we'll get to those phone calls, I promise. We do want to let you dominate. You dominate when we come back. Like that Clemson defense, you'll dominate.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology, known as SIMT, is ready to meet your 3D printing, machining, and social media listening needs. Our list of clients includes business and industrial partners from around the state, the nation, and the globe. In addition, we are providing social media listening services to a variety of businesses and educational institutions, from large companies to law firms to small rural school districts. The SIMT also rents space for training, conferences, and trade shows. Catering services are available for events being held at the SIMT. We are dedicated to customer service and look forward to serving you. Check us out on the web at simt.com to see a full list of our manufacturing services, or give us a call at 843-413-2740.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, covering Lawrence, Clinton, Joanna, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
The Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl is back for 2021, showcasing the best South Carolina high school football has to offer. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com and make your plans to join us in Myrtle Beach on December 11th in celebration of Palmetto State All-Stars from the State Midlands. Visit TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com for a full schedule of the week's events leading up to the game and Mr. Football South Carolina award presentation. Past winners include Stephen Gilmore, Marcus Lattimore, Jadavian Clowney, and Luke B.
It's definitely an honor, to be recognized as one of the best players in South Carolina. These guys are definitely deserving of the award as well. So it really is just an honor, to be named Mr. Football.
That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl, kicking off at Myrtle Beach High School's Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium, 12:30 Saturday, December 11th. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get savings today. Not a member yet? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
All right, let's get to your phone calls. Folks have been awaiting, and we appreciate that. I know you have got a lot built up inside of you. If you are a Gamecock fan, make sure the dump button is working there, Pat. And if you're a Tiger fan, I know you got a lot to growl about. Gamecock fans, you don't have anything really. Well, from the game, you have nothing to crow about. Oh, let me say one more quick thing. If Beamer were going to fire coaches, as everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody. You can't let yourself be influenced by internet morons and message boards minions. If you were going to fire coaches, don't you think he would have done it today? That would have been the decent thing to do if you're going to do that. And Look, Marcus Satterfield, I mean, I wasn't crazy about whatever game plan they ran against Clemson, and the play calling was pretty vanilla and plain. But the guy was not dealt a very good hand on the offensive side. I mean, truly. I don't think Vince Lombardi could have done anything with that offense. You got to have players. He had no quarterbacks, okay? He really had no quarterbacks. He had a very bad offensive line. He had one receiver. He had good running backs, but good running backs can't do anything if there's no consistent blocking. What are you supposed to do as an offensive coordinator? I mean, seriously, what are you supposed to do? You know, you can't make filet mignon out of hamburger. I've tried. It doesn't work. All right, we go to the phones, 888-898-2525. And let's head first to Tom in Sumter. Is that right? Okay, Tom, welcome in. Sports Talk, Insane Monday, the Monday after. How are you?
I'm doing well. A couple quick thoughts. Your comment about Satterfield, I don't know. It's easy to say now going into the game, but Brent Venables against Marcus Satterfield, did anybody really think that the Gamecocks were going to have a chance with that matchup? I don't know where all that optimism was coming from. I know that's easy to say now. Something else I don't understand. Why is it that Shane Beamer doesn't have to take the responsibility for the offensive performance? All I hear is Marcus Satterfield, got to fire him. Shane Beamer's the head coach. If the offense is not working, you get in there and you fix it. You don't detach yourself and it's like he has no responsibility. I've never understood that. There is a head coach. He is ultimately responsible. And, and the other thing I'll say is you were talking about rankings and development. South Carolina has 2 in-state 5-star players on that defensive line. And honestly, unless I'm missing something, I don't recall either one of them really having any major impact, not only in Saturday's game, but honestly, in the whole time they've been there, I just haven't seen either one of the 5-star defensive linemen have much of an impact. That Clemson defensive line with their 4 and 5-star linemen, they dominated that football game.
Well,
so it makes me wonder if they're being developed. And so, and I'll say one last thing.
Yeah.
Why would Oklahoma even consider Shane Beamer? I know he has the ties, and he's a good fellow. I believe he's not going anywhere. I do think he is an honest man. But why would they even consider it? Have they not seen his football team this year? And I know he doesn't have the best personnel, but, it's not like he's lit the world on fire with his team. So thank you for letting me say that. I'm a Carolina fan, but I'm not passionate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be reasonable and detached. And that's my observations in common.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. A lot of things to uncover there. Yes, on Clemson's dominance on the defensive line. Yes, on Venables, of course, being the great defensive coordinator that he is and coming up, well, just running their basic scheme, really. I didn't see anything all that crazy. He blitzed when he needed to. He played tight man coverage, but he relied on his front group to put pressure and keep Jason Brown on the run. You might have wondered if South Carolina would have been better off pulling Brown sooner and going to Nolan, because at least Nolan is the better passer and can stand in the pocket. He'll take the hit, and he might be a sack target, but he'll stand in the pocket and deliver the football and give you a chance down the field a little bit. I don't think Jason Brown was really ever in that ball game from a quarterback standpoint. Running game was never a factor. The 2 5-star defensive linemen, I couldn't agree with you more. I really haven't seen in the years that they've been there so far the greatness that you would project from 5-star labeled people, which is not their fault. I'm sure they're working as hard as they can and trying to get the most out of it. Again, I go back to the ranking system itself and how, okay, it's fine for conversation, but if you live by the ranking system, you're going to die by the ranking system. You can't recruit off of that, and you can't believe that just because a guy is ranked a certain way, he's going to perform that way. Give me a 3-star, 2-star guy who overperforms and develops his talents and proves everybody wrong. I'll take that guy. All right, Back in just a moment.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast: clear and cool overnight with the low dipping down to 30. Tomorrow, absolutely perfect with sunny skies and a warmer high temp of 66. The sunshine continues all week, as do the warmer temps. By Wednesday, we're into the low 70s, and by Friday, we're flirting with a high of 80. Great way to welcome in December. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Oh man, storm's coming. I need to be prepared. Where's my phone? Oh, there it is. All right, here's the Dominion Energy app with Face ID, and I am ready to go. That's right, folks. If those South Carolina storms hit, the new Dominion Energy mobile app is a must-have. So easy to use and convenient to have around. It's not just for power outages. With this app, you have instant access to all of your energy usage, too. Pretty cool stuff. Take it from me. Be prepared this season and download it today.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Tragedy in Los Angeles. A woman and her 4 grandchildren have been shot and killed in her home. The kid's father has now turned himself in to police. And investigators in the East Texas community of Hallsville say a man has accidentally shot and killed his 11-year-old daughter while they were out hunting. President Biden urging all Americans to get vaccinated, including booster shots, as he seeks to quell concerns over the newly identified variant as Omicron, but he won't immediately push for more restrictions. Talks over Iran's nuclear deal with world powers resuming. Signatories of that nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, Iran, Russia, China, France, Germany, and Britain, have convened in Vienna. This is SRN News.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
Have you spent a career in plumbing, heating and air, or even welding? Maybe you want to put the tools down or lighten your load, but you want to stay in the game. How about becoming an instructor with Midlands Tech and help train the next generation of skilled workers? Midlands Tech needs quality instructors. Maybe you still want to keep working, but pick up some overtime hours, passing on your skills. Call Michael Ross to learn more. Call 822-7065. That's 822-7065. You've got something to give. Midlands Tech wants your help.
Hey, I'm State Representative Chris Wooten.
And I'm State Representative Micah Caston.
Join us on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on The Rep.
We'll talk about everything that's happening at the State House and give you an insider's perspective.
All from the General Assembly. So join us at 9 a.m. on The Point, 100.7 FM or 1470 a.m.
Deer season is here and we all want to be successful, but our safety should come first.
A simple way to stay safe is to wear blaze orange as you walk to and from your stand.
Probably the best way to stay safe is to wear a safety harness.
Put it on, hook it up to a lifeline, and let the tree keep you safe from a fall during your hunt.
Lastly, always use your binoculars and not your rifle scope to look at and identify things while you're deer hunting. Woods and Water, South Carolina, your host Roger and Taylor Metz want you to be around to enjoy many deer seasons to come.
Just remember, the accident you might prevent, the life you might save, just might be your own.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Insane Monday edition of Sports Talk after the Monday after the Palmetto Bowl. So much going on. So many big events over the weekend. Of course, we're focusing on things right here in South Carolina. That's what we do on Sports Talk. 888-898-2525, South Carolina. Education Lottery lucky number into the show. Did you know that since 2002, more than $2.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund life scholarships for the state's college-bound students? Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducation.com/education wins. And playing for fun is a win for education. All right, Chris is with us. You've been taking it all in while we got you hooked up. Good to have you with us. Hope you had a great time in the Bahamas and a great holiday. By the way, let me just say, hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Happy Hanukkah for those of you celebrating that great holiday. And now you are with us, sir. Good to have you back.
Did not realize that if I went to the Bahamas, I would never be allowed back on the program.
We tried.
I get it.
We tried to make that happen.
Jealousy runs rampant on Sports Talk. No, had a terrific time, and I appreciate you letting us dial in from down there. It was a lot of fun. And now the Chanticleers get ready for a huge matchup on Wednesday, first ever meeting in Conway between the Gamecocks and Chanticleers. Looking forward to that on Wednesday. USC 2-0 lifetime against Coastal Carolina. Now, as we move into a little basketball talk, should be a lot of fun. But I did take in a little bit of what you said. First off, Shane Beamer have we gotten to a point, Phil, and this is not a knock on you, but have we gotten to a point we don't take coaches on their word anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have gotten to that point, say maybe, 30 years ago. As my great mentor, Don Williams, told me when I was a naive young employee of the South Carolina
For as long as the Gamecocks will allow him to be so. And to me, Virginia Tech makes even more sense than Oklahoma. I mean, Virginia Tech is his home. That's where his dad coached. That's where he grew up. I mean, Blacksburg makes a whole lot more sense than Oklahoma does. And I was stunned. I really was stunned when I saw today that Lincoln Riley was going to take over at Southern California, because everything we heard over the weekend was he was the candidate for LSU. That's who LSU wanted. So, Phil, where do the Tigers go to get a coach in? Does it backfire, and does it bite you on the backside that they beat Texas A&M over the weekend, and now is LSU looking kind of foolish for cutting him loose before the season ended?
Well, what I'm seeing is now they're going after Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. That's the name that's popped up for the LSU search, according to reports coming out of there. Let's jump back to the phones.
Why would he go? First off, before we get back to the phones, why would he go to LSU and have to deal with that pressure cooker and have to deal with SEC, caliber teams every weekend when he's got a situation set up at Notre Dame where he only has to play 5 conference games?
$10 million a year, maybe.
Yeah. How much does Notre Dame pay him? I would assume his salary is commensurate with what he would get at LSU.
I don't know. I don't think they'll pay as much as LSU. LSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, those people, they don't have any ceiling on what they will pay. No, they don't have a ceiling. They'll pay whatever's necessary to get their guy. Let's get back to the phones. Folks have been waiting. Good to have you with us, Chris, as always. 888-898-2525. We appreciate the calls. I do want to hear from you and get your thoughts on the weekend and what has happened since. And we go next to Keith in Camden. Keith, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, Phil. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Well, I sat through it Saturday night, and it was pretty darn frustrating, but I'm not going to pile on tonight. But I want to go back to your comment earlier about Billy Napier when that name was being brought up for the coaching job at South Carolina. And I want to talk about the last 8 years, Ray Tanner and those in charge, from the standpoint of the overall football program. And at the end of the day, if we're not willing to make the investment inside, I'm not talking about game experience that Ray keeps talking about. I get that. But if we're not willing to give whoever it is equal playing field with Georgia, Clemson, the other big boys, then all we're doing, you're buying a bill of sales you can't cash. It's like putting a dress on a pig and putting red lipstick on it. And it's got to change. Give them what they need, or we're going to have this conversation 5 years from now. Love your show.
Thank
Talk to you later.
And Chris, our man, Ellis Johnson, who's as honest as the day is long, has said it on this show repeatedly. He's made comments like that about South Carolina, that there's something inside there over the years, coach after coach, where they're not doing everything to keep up with everybody else internally. I don't know what it is. Look,
such as
well, we
that,
look on
that
the
would
outside.
be what I would like to hear.
Well, we look out on the outside, and we see the big shiny building, and we see the nice practice fields, and then people watch the videos and they get sucked in by the hype videos and all that kind of stuff. But still, there must be something within the inner workings, whether it's the amount they pay assistant coaches, the number of analysts they have, the amount they are. It is well known and has been reported that South Carolina has one of the lowest recruiting budgets in the SEC. Maybe that's what he's talking about. With Ellis, it's something to us, it might seem small. To him, it's something big. It might mean access to the university plane to go see an important recruit, but you can't get the university plane because the volleyball coach is using it or the women's basketball coach. See what I'm saying? There's just not and I'm not speaking for Ellis. He can speak for himself when he joins us later in the week, but the priority isn't there in a lot of ways. If you're going to compete with the people in the SEC, you have to compete with and with Clemson. Okay. And this is, again, this goes back to what he was talking about related to the most recent search for a head coach and how it boiled down with Billy Napier. And when he decided not to take the job, as we had reported back then, and some of it was they weren't willing to pay or give everything that he thought they needed within those areas inside the football program. So, that's just been a kind of a ongoing theme with South Carolina football for a long, long time. And
does Spurrier have everything he needed?
I don't know. Spurrier paid so little attention to recruiting. He would have been happy to have Clyde Wren as his recruiting coordinator and a couple of cell phones. And
I'm not trying to make light of the point, but if Spurrier, because he's unquestionably the most successful coach at USC in terms of football, right? I mean, did he have everything?
Winningest coach of all time.
Yeah, he didn't have the indoor practice. Well, he had the indoor, but he didn't have the operations facility. He didn't have everything else that sort of behind the scenes is supposed to happen that kept Billy Napier mysteriously away from USC. And he won. This isn't about money. If you watch the game on Saturday, Shane Beamer, if he's curious as to where the difference is and the gap between USC and Clemson right now, he could see it right up front. It's on both sides of the line of scrimmage. This is recruiting. And whether or not they have the money to go recruit, I can't imagine they don't. But in terms of that, isn't an athletics department, aren't they supposed to go out and field competitive teams across the board? And for the most part, I think USC has done that with the exception of football. So if that's the case, why is it football's problem? Or is it the athletics department problem to get better? Or is it Shane Beamer's job to go out and recruit the guys to be able to compete up along the line of scrimmage? Because that was the biggest difference in the ballgame.
No question.
If you want to see where the difference is between Clemson and South Carolina right now, it's at the line of scrimmage. Because I could put Jason Brown behind Clemson's offensive line, and I think I think that team wins. If I put DJ Uiagalelei behind South Carolina's offensive line, they don't win because they can't run the football.
Yet they ran it efficiently and successfully against Florida and Auburn. Did those two teams just come to Columbia and just say, to heck with it, we're not playing today on defense?
I think Florida probably did. I don't know about Auburn, but let's face it, Clemson's defense is light years ahead of both of those teams you just referenced.
Man, I thought Auburn did a
Clemson's
nice job
defense-
against Alabama.
Yeah, they really did.
You know,
and that's the crazy thing about college football right now. You can't pick a team which team is going to show up on any given weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in terms of the defenses that South Carolina faces this year, unquestionably Georgia's the best. But I don't know that Clemson's all that far off, even with the injuries.
All right, what you got, Pat?
Just to piggyback on what Chris is saying here is there is some truth into you need to give your coach the keys or the necessary aspects of the program in order for them to succeed. But it's also kind of short-sighted. And today, let's look at Lincoln Riley as an example. Bob Stoops essentially stepped out of the way to allow Lincoln Riley to move in from offensive coordinator to head coach. They gave him full control of that program. These last 4 years, they have given him anything and everything he's wanted. Look at Rich Rodriguez back in his days at West Virginia. He was basically the AD of West Virginia. He could do and get whatever he wanted, and they both still left. I mean, I know he had some bad things happen there and then left for Michigan. Lincoln Riley still just left. What happens if you spend $100 million or whatever to pay for all the new facilities and the top-notch equipment for a coach to do it his way, and then he up and leaves for a better opportunity at another school where he thinks he has a better chance of winning? Then what? Then you have a new coaching staff coming in who may not like the way the guy who just left you high and dry built up the program. So it almost seems like Ray Tanner is doing this you have to think long-term, not short-term. And I think that's a little short-sighted to just give a new coach everything they could possibly want.
All right, back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is our number. And we welcome Stan the Tiger Man from New Ellington in next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Stan.
Corn, it's been a while, buddy.
Been a little bit. Been a minute.
Yes, sir. I think Chris hit the nail on the head, but I'll get the Shane Beamer thing out of the way before I go to the Tigers. I think we're jumping on them too quick. You got to look, they done won 6 games and have looked pretty good, taking a lot of turnovers, but I felt as good about Clemson as anything on the count of Brent Venables got the eye of the Tiger, and I knew the defense would come in there. Now we've got about 17, 18 players not playing on offense and defense. And that quarterback the other night, he missed a good many passes. He got the hurt knee and the cast on the little trigger finger, but it could have been worse. But as far as I think we got to take him at his word till something comes up concrete about leaving. I mean, he said that's where the kids were born and really loves it there. But I mean, it's just a first year thing. And Chris hit the nail on the head. I don't believe they faced anything like the strong defense that old Brent Venables, like Oshowski, number 47 in the middle, have faced.
Now, let me make myself clear. Let me make myself clear in case you don't understand what I was saying. I wasn't saying anything about Shane Beamer and his position. I was questioning the people who identify him as a candidate. People throw the word candidate around so loosely based off of any rumor they hear. And I'm just questioning or saying or trying to educate those people that a candidate, you're not a candidate until you seek it. And if Shane Beamer is not seeking the Oklahoma job, whether the AD likes him or the man who cuts the grass at the stadium likes him or whoever likes him out there, he's not a candidate unless he calls them up and says, I want to pursue it, or they contact him and he says, yes, I'll talk to you. Then he becomes a candidate. Then you've got a story. Then you've got your scoop. Then you can sell your subscriptions for $1 a month, which you're doing now. Otherwise, he's not a candidate. And so quit trying to lure people into a story that doesn't exist. But then again, I go back to what I said. If he is a candidate, if he is pursuing the job, then I rank him right up there with Charlie Pell and Alec Murdaugh.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I agree. Don't take what I'm saying wrong. I follow you, and that's what I like about you, man. That's the reason I'm on here now. Y'all don't do the fake news like a lot of this other stuff with administration and all that's going on.
Fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, I won't get into that, but I tell you, I'm kind of concerned about the way the country is going. But y'all do a good job. I love your show. Pat, you and Chris and the Corn, y'all top of the line, and I love you, and hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving. And they got to give the man some time. I tell you, I don't know. All I know is that defense was stronger than what I think they've been seeing, and to win 6 games, that's a plus. But my heart, I'm not like a lot of Tiger fans. I think a lot of people, I'm a people person, and my heart does hurt for Beamer and what they're facing with all them fans there. So think about that, and I'm going to let y'all go. and appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you
sir.
very much. Let's continue on the phone calls here on Sports Talk, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And we go next to, could it be? Could it truly be? Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt what has been a very good program with a great flow to bring you the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the bad boy by the bay, the ninja of the night, the pontiff of the port city, the queen of the cowboy crybabies, and the man who, what can I use here? The man, this is my favorite, and the man who swims out to Fort Sumter once a week, collects the unexploded cannonballs, cleans them up, paints them up, and returns them to the Citadel for future use by the cadets. It's not Jim Rome. He's making a lot of money there at CBS. It's J. Rome in Charleston.
Hello.
Hello, J.
Hello.
Rome. Hello.
Hey, Phil.
Yes.
Where's the jump button when you need it, huh?
I know. I can't quite reach it. It's a little bit out of my reach.
Hey, as far as Brian Kelly, he's overrated, okay? Look, when was the last time they beat a powerhouse? And then he's going to haul tail to LSU. Oh, good luck with the SEC. Ain't nobody there. Ain't nobody home in that conference, huh? Good luck with that fight, buddy.
Yes.
Hey, you think the press can be tough? Wait till you get a load of that conference. Feinbaum will be talking about you every day. Okay? So look, by the way, that was disgusting performance by Auburn down the stretch in that game. They had them. They had them cornered. If that offense could have done anything,
I mean,
they
seriously.
would have won the game.
Seriously. Of course, you know what? Think about it. They took one from Alabama a few years ago on the return, the sixth return. Yeah, kick returns, kick six, whatever they call it.
You
And
remember
so
that
now,
game?
now it evens up. You know, they did the dumb thing. I hate to say it, a great player made a bad mistake. And I'm sure he was told they had to coach him up and say, look, man, don't run out of bounds. Whatever you do, take a knee, hit the ground, do something. He does that. In all likelihood, they win the ball game.
Hey, I just want to tell you this about the Alabama-Auburn game this week. I'm not Auburn. Alabama-Georgia game. I'm warning you, Kirby Smart. I'm warning you. You know that old man will come in there. He'll steal it right out from under you with all them Georgia people yelling for you. So you better be careful. That little quarterback, Feinbaum's already given him the Heisman. So, hey, better be careful, man. I'm telling you, he loves playing out. He's a lot nicer to the media here lately. What's with Nick Saban, Phil? Huh? What's with him? He's nicer to the media now all of a sudden.
He actually was almost in tears after that game the other day, it sounded like, you know. But you know what? You know what? Georgia is going to crush Alabama.
Agreed.
I mean, Georgia is the real deal this year. Alabama's had some narrow escapes. Has Georgia? I'd have to go back and look. Like outside of Clemson, has Georgia had a challenge this year in any of their any real challenges? I have to go back and look at their schedule. But outside of Clemson, when they didn't score an offensive touchdown.
Didn't need to.
I don't know that they. Yeah, really. I don't know they want to play Clemson today. Of course, the Clemson defense is a little battered and bruised, but the Clemson offense is better, even though they're missing some receivers. Uyangalele and the running game over the last 3 or 4 games, they're looking more like themselves. What you got, Pat?
So the second closest game for Georgia this season, behind that 10-3 victory over Clemson, was actually at
South
home
Carolina.
against Kentucky, 30-13. That would have been funny if it was South Carolina, but no, 30-13 win over Kentucky. Now Kentucky did score literally as the clock went to zeros at the end of regulation, because a lot of fans there in Athens, I remember being quite upset. Also with our little pick'em, it had quite a swing from the betting world. But anyways, their closest game was 17. Outside of the win over Clemson.
I just think this is their year. They've got everything, you know, and they're doing it with a guy that was basically a walk-on quarterback. And he turned around after they went to the 5-star quarterback transfer. He turned around and took the job back from him. They're loaded up front, line of scrimmage. Jordan Davis, we got our ballots today for the Heisman, and I'm tempted to include him. He doesn't have gaudy numbers, but is there any other defensive player in the country that makes you change your offensive thinking than this guy?
Outside of Will Anderson at Alabama, Phil, I don't know that there is one.
Yeah. The odds makers have the guy up at the defensive end up at Michigan among one of the favorites for the Heisman. He's down the list a little bit, but he's the top defensive player getting odds consideration. What's his name? I can look it up. Defensive end at Michigan, having a heck of a year. He's got like, 11 or 12 sacks. Had a big game against Ohio State. That probably helped prop him up there among the Vegas types. All right, let's go to
Aiden Hutch, by the way, is who you're thinking of.
Who's that?
Hutch is the defensive end.
Hutcherson.
Right. It goes by Hutch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who you're thinking of out there.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue with the phone calls. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And who we got next? I don't see it on mine.
Next, we are going to stay right here in Columbia and go to Steven.
Hello,
here in Columbia.
Steven. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, what a great weekend.
Well, depending on what side of the fence you happen to sit on.
That's true. If you don't think that Georgia's going to lose this weekend, you're not checked in, Phil, because the SEC wants 2 teams in the playoffs. And the only way to do that.
Forgot about that. Yeah, conspiracy. I forgot about the conspiracy theories.
Sure you. Because no Nick Saban, has any of Nick Saban's assistant coaches ever won?
Do you think the SEC had a little microphone in Bigsby's helmet and said, hey, don't take a knee. Keep running out of bounds. We need you to run out of bounds.
No. I think the officials will make it happen for them. I really do.
Well, tell me,
Because
how are
there's
they
a
going to
lot
screw?
of money
How are they
involved,
going to
Phil.
screw
There's a
Georgia?
lot of money.
Tell us, how are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? Holding calls, PI calls. How are they going to do it?
It's going to be all the above and then some. I will assure you that Alabama will win this game. I don't know how much money you got, what your equity in your house is, but
well, mine is
SEC
3.4
is only going
million.
to get 2 teams in there if Alabama wins. So it will happen. We'll make it happen.
I got 3.4 million equity. You want to do a little something with that?
And Cincinnati's worst nightmare too.
So yeah. So good luck with that, Phil. I'm telling you what's going to happen.
Well, thank you. To be honest with you, I was driving through Alabama as that game was finishing up, and the loudest cheer did come from downtown Birmingham. I don't know why. I don't know what they were cheering over, but I heard Greg Sankey out there, dun, 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 dun. How's that Alabama fight song go? We play it all the time on our high school show.
Hey, Alabama.
Huh?
And there's actually a line in there where it talks about sending the Yellow Jackets to a watery grave, to give you an idea of how long ago they wrote that song.
The Yellow Jackets?
Yes. Back when
Of Georgia
all those
Tech?
teams were in the Southern Conference.
Oh.
Yes.
That's
Send the
interesting.
Yellow Jackets to a watery grave.
Real quick, we're going to go to where, Pat? Oh, we don't have time? I can work in a call in a minute. I have the skill. I can do it. We can make it happen. I got to know where we're going. Well, by now it's down to 45 seconds. Or now it's down
Let
to
me
30
slide
seconds.
in because our previous caller asked assistant coaches against Nick Saban. Keep in mind, Jimbo Fisher beat him this year. Kirby Smart will beat him on Saturday.
I agree.
I understand the conspiracy, but Georgia is so good. Alabama is not beating them because they're going to have a tough time against that defense. And Alabama's defense is not even very close to what it has been in the past years.
And what's the committee going to do with Alabama on Sunday with 2 losses?
They've got to be out. But they're going to take Cincinnati.
You know what I would love?
They're going to take Cincinnati.
I want to
spot.
see
You
them,
know that,
I
Phil.
want to see them unveil it, and I want to see Michigan won, and anyway, I want them to get to number 4 with no Cincinnati and no Alabama, and I want to see Alabama pop up there in that
That's
4
exactly
spot.
what's going to happen.
I
You
just
know
want to
this.
see that.
You know that's
We'll
gonna happen.
continue with calls after the break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. President Biden says discovery of the new Omicron variant should not be a cause for fear. White House correspondent Greg Clugston has details.
In a speech from the West Wing, the president sought to reassure anxious and pandemic-weary Americans.
This variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic.
He said it will take 1 or 2 weeks before health experts know more about Omicron. In the meantime, the president said the best protection against any COVID-19 variant
is getting fully vaccinated and getting a booster shot.
He also said he doesn't believe any shutdowns or lockdowns will be necessary. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Also at townhall.com, Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis will include raises and bonuses for law enforcement personnel when he announces his overall state budget proposal next week.
The budget that I signed for this current fiscal year included $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement officer, first responder, and EMT who've been working so hard throughout the pandemic in the entire state of Florida.
And that's not all.
We're going to be recommending to the legislature $73 million to increase the minimum pay for entry-level sworn state law enforcement officers by 20% to help our agencies recruit more law enforcement officers.
Americans spending freely and going back to store shopping, knocking out some of the momentum in online sales from last year when Americans were making many of their purchases exclusively via the internet. Shopper traffic roared back on Black Friday, still below pre-pandemic levels, in part because many retailers spread out some of the bigger deals starting in October. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My story begins with debt, a lot of debt, credit card debt, and I heard a commercial for Trinity. I gave them a call.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
When I first called, I was a little embarrassed and kind of ashamed, and I looked at the numbers and I saw how quickly that astronomical debt that was in my life would go away.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
What I would tell other people, please pick up the phone and call Trinity. Just let them put together a program and see how affordable and easy it is to pay off your debt.
Call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Nissan is getting out its checkbook. Ron DeRockstra explains why.
The automaker's investing nearly $18 billion over the next 5 years in developing a cheaper, more powerful battery to boost its electric vehicle lineup. Japanese automaker plans for 15 new EVs be available by fiscal 2030 and is aiming for a 50% electrification of the company's models under what it calls the Nissan Ambition 2030 long-term plan. The effort is focused mainly on electric vehicles to cut emissions and meet various customer needs. Nissan says it also wants to reduce carbon emissions at its factories. Ron DeRockstra reporting.
Well, golf pioneer Lee Elder is dead at the age of 87. Elder broke down racial barriers as the first black golfer to play in the Masters. He also helped to pave the way for Tiger Woods and others who followed on the PGA Tour. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with the low dipping down to 30. Tomorrow, absolutely perfect with sunny skies and a warmer high temp of 66. The sunshine continues all week, as do the warmer temps. By Wednesday, we're into the low 70s, and by Friday, we're flirting with a high of 80. Great way to welcome in December. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, let's keep it rolling on the phone lines here on Sports Talk on this Monday after an insane Monday that it is, as it always is, right after the end of the regular season, the bulk of the regular season. What did we see over the weekend? Just this weekend, we saw Lincoln Riley, the Southern Cal, Billy Napier to Florida, as called by Chuck Reedy, and Duke and David Cutcliffe parting ways, and LSU still looking, Virginia Tech still looking. Looks like Washington might have their man, and
hope he's vaccinated.
Yeah, really. And let's see who else is out there that's big. I know I'm missing a few. Who else am I missing? Anybody else right now? That's about it. I think of the major ones. Arizona
Where does
State.
LSU go, Phil?
Oh, Rich Rodriguez going to Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
He always wanted to be a Gamecock, and now he gets the chance over there in beautiful. Hey, honey, we're moving to Anniston, Alabama, right down the road from Talladega. Okay.
Talladega.
Let's go to Danny in Florence. Back to the phones. And a couple lines are open now. 888-898-2525. Letting you kind of set the agenda on tonight's show until we get to the bottom of the hour and some recruiting and Zach Willis, Mick Mixon coming up. But you got a chance to share your thoughts on things from over the weekend and things of today. Danny in Florence, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Phil, I just had two quick questions for you. First question is, after that big win over Gonzaga, will we be number one in men's hoops? And also, do you think Belichick's on his way to the Super Bowl?
The University of South Carolina women, that's the only team I recognize as the number one basketball team in the country.
Well, the rankings haven't come out until tomorrow now.
The University of South Carolina women's, they were unanimous number one in the basketball. The only basketball poll in this state that matters is the AP women's ranking.
So I ask you your opinion.
Actually, didn't
Danny,
I see?
Let me slide in and help Phil out here. That was an impressive win over Gonzaga. Duke will be number one.
Yeah,
and they
I
should
thought
be.
it came out. I thought the AP poll came out over the weekend for the men.
It did. Duke's number one.
Yeah, he
It's
knows
already
that.
come out.
Danny ain't stupid.
Danny, I've got a question. Who do you pull for in football?
Well, it depends on who's playing. I like Clemson. I don't pull for any team that says Carolina on it.
Gotcha.
You have an allergy to anything that has Carolina written on it?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How about when you get your tax bill from the South Carolina tax people? It says Carolina on there. Do you have a hard time paying your taxes?
I pull for Clemson kind of on an equal basis with you.
Gotcha.
Danny's a Caroluke.
It
runs rampant in our state.
He's an ABC, anything but Carolina. That's what he is.
There are a ton of fans in our state.
I also pull for all the Boston teams.
Well, I like one of them.
You know.
All right. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your phone call. 888-898-2525. Couple lines are open. If you want to join us, we'll jump right to you. Let me update. There's a number of interesting stories from today.
Before you do that, can I explain myself real quick, Phil?
Can you do who?
Can I explain myself real quick?
Yeah.
With the label I put on Danny. There is a problem in our state, and we've talked often, and it will continue as to why Brad Brownell and Frank Martin cannot keep top-notch players in our state for basketball. The problem is people like Danny, and I label them as Caroluke fans. It has run rampant in our state where you have either Clemson or South Carolina football fans who pull for Duke or North Carolina men's basketball. And until that changes, our two in-state teams are going to have a really, really hard time of coaxing top-notch players to stay in our state because they all grow up as North Carolina or Duke fans, and then they have fathers and mothers and brothers and everybody else. Did you see the game against Gonzaga out in Las Vegas? They must have had 20,000 Duke fans at that game. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Duke is one of the unique spots on this planet that folks could not tell you the starting quarterback at Duke University, but could run through the two deep, if you will, of their men's basketball program. It's incredible. And most of those people, unfortunately, are here in our state. And until we root them out and get South Carolina football fans who also pull for the Gamecocks in men's basketball, and the same is true for Clemson, Brad Brownell and Frank Martin are going to struggle.
Yeah.
Hey, Corn, real fast. And Chris, is that kind of along the lines of being a Celtics fan in basketball and a Yankees fan in baseball? Does that seem like a fair comparison?
I don't see the correlation. I don't see
and
the
a Green
correlation.
Bay fan in football? Yeah, no, it's exactly like that.
I see no connection there. But I'll say this. I mean, really, there's only been one period in all of our lives where basketball ate up this state. And that was during the 6-year run that Frank McGuire had, from about 68 to about 72. Even Clemson fans had to be caught up in somewhat appreciation for what McGuire did. And not only because of their greatness on the court, but the way they carried themselves. I mean, and the frenzy around that team by the media in Columbia. I mean, think about it, man. It was the only game in town. You didn't have all these other games on television. WIS in Columbia would televise. Who could not remember? I mean, I was a kid back then. You might not have even been born back in 68. I wasn't
in the early 60s. No,
yeah.
I was born in 1970.
Okay, well, you missed it, man. The great sportscaster Joe Petty would introduce the starting lineups for the Gamecocks, and he would stand at center court of the Carolina Coliseum with 12,000 people screaming, and would say, this is the basketball capital of the Southeast, and the place would just go nuts.
He's not wrong.
And
wrong.
And Clemson didn't have it in basketball to match South Carolina back then, and we all know that. They had a great player in Butch Taslio in the 60s, and then, of course, they did have I will say, when they had their run there, Tree Rollins, when Tates Locke was there, now, they weren't doing things on the up and up, but they were getting really good players. Skip Wise, Tree Rollins. I mean, they had some really good players. Larry Nance come through there. They had some individually good teams. But as a whole, in basketball, nothing has, even the couple of years that Fogler won, Rick Barnes had a chance at Clemson. Had he stayed there and continued to build, I think he could have captured that in South Carolina with his personality and what he was starting to put together there. But he left. He left.
Worst loss in terms of Clemson athletics in coaching that they've had in the last 40 years.
Danny Ford, would probably rank number one.
But Danny left for a lot of different reasons. I mean, just to lose a guy like Rick Barnes, had they kept him, Clemson would be as good, in my opinion. Well, maybe not as good, but certainly in the conversation as a two-sport school.
Yeah, but
with football and men's basketball,
he knew what the ceiling was there with Clemson basketball, no and other things that he uttered at that time. Back to the phones, 888-898-2525. Billy in Somerville, you are up next here on Sports Talk. Good to have you.
Hey, Phil, how y'all doing tonight?
We are doing fine.
Tremendous.
And after a rough weekend being a Carolina fan, that brings back memories from I know my dad went to Carolina, and he's telling me stories about Frank McGuire before I was even born, and after the stories he told me, after everything he said was true. I know one of the stories he used to tell me was about, I think it was Riker that touched Lefty Driesell in the nose after the Maryland game when they got in a fight.
I think it was Reebok. I think it was Reebok.
Was it Reebok?
I think it was Reebok.
Okay, well, okay. And I know that they used to be known for fighting back then, but they were a true team. And the reason why basketball courts started coming around as far as basketball goals, as far as houses, was because Frank McGuire.
Absolutely.
And he used to tell me that before before basketball got big.
Yep.
I've got a question to ask for y'all too. As far as the season's over with, being Carolina fans, should we be disappointed at all, or should we be more respectful towards Shane Beamer's what he's done after the Clemson loss? I mean, I know it was kind of disappointing, but being a Carolina fan for over almost 46 years, I think we can see the good and the bad.
Yeah. Thank you for your phone call. I would say, my opinion, Chris, is that the Gamecocks fans should be grateful for what Shane Beamer did in this first year to get them to a bowl game, 6 wins, doubling the expectations. Now, I mean, look, it's still a a downer for them to be handled the way Clemson handled them. And when you think maybe you might have taken a step up with the way you beat Auburn, and to just not show up. I mean, truly, they were handled from the opening drive by Clemson's offense.
Yep.
This was equally uninspiring play offensively and defensively by South Carolina. And we'll get more X's and O's observations from Zach Willis coming up on what exactly happened from an X and O standpoint. But, I mean, to me, it was pretty simple. And I think you hit it in your opening remarks when you finally got you on the air after we lifted the blackout. I mean, they were just whipped up front. And this is not a great Clemson offensive line. This is not a great Clemson offensive line by any means. But they went out and played very solid, fundamental offensive football against South Carolina. Nothing fancy. They didn't do a whole lot of fancy stuff. They were just handing off a tackle, off guard, slanting in there, and there were holes for the running backs to run through.
And I want to give Dabo Swinney and Tony Elliott and those guys a lot of credit, Phil, because we talked about this early in the season once Clemson started to struggle on offense. What was their identity? What is South Carolina's identity on offense? I think I made this comment, the only FBS program in our state that I knew week in and week out was going to show up, what they were going to do on offense was Coastal, because Coastal was going to run that spread option attack. They were going to run first and throw it with Grayson McCall. As the season wore along, I don't know that South Carolina ever found an identity on offense. The one thing Clemson did, and here's why I want to give them a lot of credit, they realized that DJ is not the quarterback they thought he was going to be. And with the struggles they had with the injuries on the wide receiving core and also at the offensive line, let's face it, they did not have everybody available, especially in the wide receiving core. They transformed themselves and turned into a power running team with a terrific defense. And that's how they won the last several ball games that they did and scored actually more points the back half of the season than they did early in the year. I don't know that South Carolina throughout 12 ball games ever figured out who they were on offense. And you tried to run it constantly against Clemson on Saturday. And sooner or later, when you keep running your head into a brick wall, you've got to make some changes. And Matt Stinchcomb, who was doing the color analyst role for the SEC network on Saturday, and even Alyssa Lang, who talked with Shane Beamer at halftime, said that, and Alyssa said that Shane Beamer told her they were not playing Carolina football. Well, what exactly is that? And that's what the Gamecocks need to figure out. And Matt Stinchcomb said, you know what, they're not doing anything exotic the way they did against Auburn. And I think he's right. The Auburn game plan was a whole lot more exotic and had so many more, different aspects to it.
I didn't see Trey Jones out there one time.
Yeah, exactly.
You see him one time in the backfield just to give him
that
power
remember.
look?
Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And Alyssa Lang said that Shane Beamer said they weren't playing Carolina football. That's what they need to figure out. What exactly is Carolina football under Shane Beamer?
That's a good question. I still say when you analyze Marcus Satterfield, look what he had to work with.
No doubt.
I mean, come on, let's be fair about it. It wasn't it's not like he had the greatest collection of offensive talent in America and he brought it all down. Okay. We'll be back after the break.
There was just a
of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
The Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl is back for 2021, showcasing the best South Carolina high school football has to offer. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com. and make plans to join us in Myrtle Beach on December 11th in celebration of Palmetto State All-Stars from the Upstate, Midlands, PD, Grand Strand, and Low Country. Visit TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com for a full schedule of the week's events leading up to the game and Mr. Football South Carolina award presentation.
Hunter Helms in at quarterback, drops straight back in the end zone, fires deep. He's got a receiver up the seam. 45, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown for Omarion Dollison.
That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl kicking off at Myrtle Beach High School's Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium, 12:30 Saturday, December 11th. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams, and you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, hunting season is upon us. How do we stay safe in a field?
There are 3 rules that every hunter should follow when they're hunting with a firearm. Number 1, treat every firearm due to respect a loaded gun. If you treat your firearm as if it's loaded, you'll always, number 2, keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction. And number 3, when you decide to pull the trigger, make sure of your target, identify it, and know what's beyond it in case you miss.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
If you are pregnant, DHEC and the CDC strongly recommend the COVID-19 vaccine. The dangers of the Delta variant, increased risk of severe illness and pregnancy complications are too great to ignore. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are at greater risk for hospitalization and for critical care, including ventilation and admission to the ICU. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are more likely to have major pregnancy complications. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator to find a vaccine near you to protect your unborn baby and yourself.
All right, back we are on Sports Talk. Sports Talk Media Network, 888-898-2525. At the end of the quarter, USC women 16, North Carolina A&T 10. A&T without a win coming into this ball game. USC women undefeated. Gamecock shooting 50%, A&T 25%. Boston with 9 points, 4 rebounds in the quarter to lead USC there. A few other notes. We started to get into these, and then we stopped. And, by the way, a couple lines are open. 888-898-2525 is the number. Bet Online, the next Oklahoma head coach, full-time head coach, Luke Fickell, 3-1. Bob Stoops, 17-4. And why wouldn't it be Bob Stoops?
Wow.
He's the interim guy. Why would Bob Stoops step in as the interim guy? Why would they bring him back as an interim guy? They weren't thinking about him staying on. Matt Campbell, 9-2. Mark Stoops, 6-1. Brent Venables is 15-2. Josh Heupel, 8-1. Citadel linebacker Anthony Britton is in the transfer portal, John. We told you earlier about Clemson linebacker Kane Patterson being in the portal, John. The finalists for the Broyles Award announced today. Remember that USC's Clayton White and Coastal Carolina's Newton Isaac were among the nominees. The 5 finalists: Jeff Grimes, Baylor; Jim Knowles, Oklahoma State; Dan Lanning, Georgia; Josh Gaddis, Michigan; Warren Ruggiero from Wake Forest. And let's see, 5 Gamecocks were named to the PFF All-SEC squad. Pro Football Focus All-SEC squad. 5 Gamecocks were named. On the first team, J.J. Inabari. Second team, Jaheim Bell and Cam Smith. Third team, Parker White. Honorable mention, Josh Van. Okay. The latest college football championship odds from Bet Online: Georgia is 4-9. Alabama's 13-2. Michigan 15-2. Cincinnati's 10-1. Oklahoma State's 12-1. Notre Dame is 20-1. Heisman odds: Bryce Young 1-2. C.J. Stroud 17-4. Aiden Hutchinson is 14-1, along with Kenneth Walker and Kenny Pickett. I tell you what,
now, may I jump in here?
Let me say
go
this.
ahead.
Of the three quarterbacks there, Young, Stroud, and Pickett, though Pickett is a lot older, Young and Stroud, and who knows what's going to happen. But I'll bet you $1 to donuts that Pickett is the better of the three when it comes to the NFL when that time comes.
Interesting.
I love Kenny Pickett's game. This guy's been doing it for
He's
3 years
terrific.
at Pitt.
He's been terrific.
Yeah, he's just not a Johnny-come-lately. He's been doing it for 3 years there.
And C.J. Stroud has the best wide receiver in the country in Olave to throw it to, so that helps a good bit. But how do you make Alabama the second best favorite to win the national championship when they've still got to go through a team you have said is the best odds to win the national championship? I don't get that.
I mean, maybe they think somehow they're going to beat Georgia. There's some people out there who still
twice. You're not beating Georgia once, much less twice.
I guess you're right. You'd have to beat them twice. Probably. I don't know. I just want to see that happen. I want to see Georgia and Alabama play a really good game. Few penalties, not many turnovers, and Alabama takes the lead with 45 seconds to go. They go up 2. They kick to Georgia, and Georgia gets a nice return. Couple of quick passes down the sideline with one timeout, one over the middle down to about the 25. Out comes the kicker, bang. He hits a field goal to win it. And everybody says, well, look, Alabama played them right to the last seconds. They only lost by a point. They should be in the playoffs. And then we come to Selection Sunday. And again, what do we have? We have, I want to get to that last pick. And up pops Alabama. And at number 5 is Cincinnati. There's your message.
I will be here.
There's your message, ladies and gentlemen.
And I will be here on Monday to remind you once again, it's not a playoff. It's a money grab.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be the only reason you would put Alabama in there above Cincinnati, especially an Alabama team with 2 losses.
Coastal Carolina freshman defensive end Josiah Stewart named to the Hendricks Award final watch list. What a year he had, 12.5 sacks, 15.5 tackles for loss. The ACC announced today that Clemson receiver Justin Ross, one of the recipients of the Brian Piccolo Award, that goes to the most courageous player in the league. Also, Clemson offensive tackle Jordan McFadden, the offensive lineman of the week. And Christian McCaffrey out for the season with the Panthers, ankle injury. Boy, they looked good yesterday. NCAA stats this week. Clemson total offense is number 95. They've moved up. Total defense, they're number 9. Coastal Carolina total offense, number 6. Total defense, number 19. USC total offense, 116. And total defense, 44. Wofford guard, Max Klesmet, Southern Conference Player of the Week, 22 points, 3 rebounds per game during the week. Coastal running back Shamari Jones, Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week, and linebacker Silas Kelly, Defensive Player of the Week. They were really good. Joe Call, resigning as the football coach at Oceanside Collegiate. David Shelton with that story. Call he's just burned out. He says he's burned out and wants to spend more time with the family.
That's John McKissick's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Tim Beret. Oh, yeah. Tim Beret tweeted with Clemson's win over South Carolina, an SEC network production. That game will never be seen again on linear television. He tweeted, the SEC network does not replay non-conference losses, especially to ACC teams. Now, I did not know that was a rule of the SEC. They don't replay non-conference losses, especially to ACC teams. That is a new one on me.
That's true, but if it is,
I mean Tim,
if you're
Tim's
the SEC network,
Tim's not going to tweet a lie.
I don't doubt Tim's stats, but I mean, why would the SEC network replay that game?
I mean, why would you replay any loss? You mean? Why make anybody in your league look bad?
I mean,
in other words, are you saying in the SEC, if we don't replay it, it didn't happen?
It did not exist.
It didn't happen? Is that what he's saying?
Tree falls in the forest, doesn't make a sound. It did not fall.
Let's
Same
find
thing
out
here.
what happened X's and O's wise. Why Clemson, besides the personnel, why were they so much better than the Gamecocks? We'll find out from Zach Willis coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast: clear and cool overnight with the low dipping down to 30. Tomorrow, absolutely perfect, with sunny skies and a warmer high temp of 66. The sunshine continues all week, as do the warmer temps. By Wednesday, we're into the low 70s, and by Friday, we're flirting with a high of 80. Great way to welcome in December. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point Local Weather.
If you are pregnant, DHEC and the CDC strongly recommend the COVID-19 vaccine. The dangers of the Delta variant, increased risk of severe illness and pregnancy complications are too great to ignore. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are at greater risk for hospitalization and for critical care, including ventilation and admission to the ICU. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are more likely to have major pregnancy complications. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator to find a vaccine near you to protect your unborn baby and yourself.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Police in Los Angeles calling it a wretched scene. A woman and her 4 grandkids have been shot and killed in her home. Authorities now say the children's father has surrendered to police. A lot of tears in the small East Texas community of Hallsville. The sheriff says a man has accidentally shot and killed his 11-year-old daughter while they were hunting. President Biden urging all Americans to get vaccinated, including booster shots, as he tries to quell concerns over the newly identified variant named Omicron, but he won't immediately push for more restrictions to stop the spread of the virus. And talks over Iran's tattered 2015 nuclear deal with world powers has now resumed. They are meeting in Vienna. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
On here with Tim Hanberry from Medicare Blueprint. So, Tim, it is open enrollment now for Medicare. How does that impact our listeners at the point?
Well, Kevin, now's the time for you to review your Medicare Advantage plan because they can and do change each year. You'll need to make sure that your prescriptions are still covered and at what cost. So what should you do? First, give us a call. We'll ask you a few questions. We'll find out what your prescriptions are and what doctors you see. Then we'll find the best plan for you. We'll do all the work for you. We'll even make sure to show you all the additional benefits you're entitled to.
Yeah, listen, I called Tim and his team, and it's just like he says. We've cut our healthcare costs considerably. So don't waste time. Don't waste this opportunity during open enrollment. Give Tim a call at Medicare Blueprint, 803-708-7405, or find him online at MedicareBlueprint.com. That's 708-7405 or MedicareBlueprint.com.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street downtown.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. Is it me or does life speed by so much faster this time of year? Your calendar fills up so quickly. Then before you know it, you're scratching your head when you see Christmas decorations for sale at Lowe's. How do you stay connected? Well, thanks for asking. We have the answer. It's fondue. Come in for reconnecting time. Have 4 courses or just chocolate or just cheese. We are here for you. 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard, the Melting Pot.
Deer season is here and we all want to be successful, but our safety should come first.
A simple way to stay safe is to wear blaze orange as you walk to and from your stand.
Probably the best way to stay safe is to wear a safety harness.
Put it on, hook it up to a lifeline, and let the tree keep you safe from a fall during your hunt.
Lastly, always use your binoculars and not your rifle scope to look at and identify things while you're deer hunting. Woods and Water, South Carolina, your host Roger and Taylor Metz want you to be around to enjoy many deer seasons to come.
Just remember, the accident you might prevent, the life you might save, just might be your own.
Okay, we're back with you. We got recruiting coming up in a couple of minutes. Mick Mixon, voice of the Panthers. Got to have him on, even though they really stunk against Miami. Mike Bobo, according to a report by one of the writers over there in the Auburn area, I guess, not returning as Auburn's offensive coordinator. Sources confirming to Auburn Live. Mike, you should have stayed in Columbia, my man. You should have taken it. When they handed it to you, you thought the grass was greener over there in Auburn. Apparently
not. Sure Gamecock
not.
fans would share that optimism, Phil.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's welcome in. That's just crazy stuff in football, but you never know what's going to happen. Zach Willis, the coach, joins us here first and 10 with Zach. Hope you had a great holiday weekend with the family and everything is well with you. And I want to talk the X's and O's. I know Clemson personnel-wise overshadows South Carolina in practically every area offensively against a supposedly pretty good USC defensive front and defense overall. What were they doing scheme-wise? Anything different?
Oh, yeah.
Or they just man them up and just knock them off the ball?
Well, Phil, you're on the money, brother. If you noticed all year long, the counter and the power, which are plays where you pull a lineman, were extremely successful against South Carolina. Tank Bigsby, I guess, ran for probably 130 of his 164 yards or whatever it was when they let him run it for Auburn. When they played him, they all came off the counter. And the reason for that is there's two ways you can play your defensive lineman. You can have them attack a whole man and try to lock him out and defeat the block and wait until the runner makes his move. And we call it two-gapping or reading hats, where you basically don't come off the lineman to the last minute, try to push him into the backfield, which is really hard to do. You've got to be physically superior, in my opinion, to play that type of defense. And that's what South Carolina plays. The type of defense that I always employed, even when I had, and I coached them and played on some incredible defenses, we penetrated. We got half a man. And Snitchcomb was the announcer for the TV portion of the broadcast of that game. And I coached against him. He was an All-American left tackle at Georgia. And he's a good announcer, honestly, one of the better ones technically. I don't know how entertaining he is for other people, but penetrating, attacking half a man and just taking one gap and being responsible for that gap does two things. The first one is it cleans up the linebackers' reads. It gives them a clear picture of where the running back's going to be running the ball, where they're going to try to run it, and they can fit into those gaps and plug them up. The second thing it does is penetration destroys any kind of counter or pulling scheme you have, because you knock everything back into the backfield and it creates really bad blocking angles for the center having to block back on the guy over the guard, for example, and your defensive ends recognizing what's going on, getting upfield and into the backfield and disrupting the path of the ball carrier and the blockers who get out in front of him. I hope I made that simple enough, but South Carolina needs to penetrate more on defense. They would have been so much more effective than they were. The effort was fantastic. They were just in a bad scheme, Phil.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you're saying kind of shows up in the stats. Clemson's top three tacklers in the game were their linebackers, Spector, Skowski, Simpson. And maybe that's the case pretty regularly. They had 16 tackles among them, but it did seem to me like Clemson's linebackers were doing a great job of plugging holes and hitting the Gamecock running backs right at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, well, and it shows, Carolina was, I had talked to Justin Stepp a little bit. Of course, I've known him since he was 9 years old. And, he assured me of one thing, they were going to compete. And I know 30-0 doesn't look great, but for the scheme they were playing, and Clemson obviously was penetrating. You Clemson does a little. They're so multiple, and they're older, and they're more talented. Quite frankly, they pretty much got them beat across the board. It was going to be a tough deal for them. And it's going to be tough for a while until they start really recruiting, and hopefully they can. We want to see it even rivalry, but that's exactly right. And when you start having your leading tacklers be your safeties, I don't know who was the leading tacklers for Carolina. I don't know if it got to that point to be that bad. If it's your safeties and your DBs and your leading tacklers, you're in trouble. Linebackers are ideal. That's what Clemson has. That's what they play with. And they have great defensive linemen, and they'll change it up. If you ever watch Venables, they may be in a 3-man front or a 4-man front, maybe even a 5-man front. They may penetrate or they may what we call read. But they keep the offense off balance. And you got to remember, it's the only team in the country that Georgia State that held them without a touchdown. They scored on the pick six for their touchdown. Clemson is the real deal on defense, and nobody can deny that. And I really don't take anything away from the players at South Carolina. They played hard literally to the last play of the game trying to get the end zone and score, just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Offensively for South Carolina, was there anything else they could have done? They appeared to be pretty basic to me, like we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Didn't see Trey Jones in the backfield. They'd use that effectively. Maybe they just feel like that's a red zone 10-yard line and in sort of a formation for them. But you didn't see – you saw one trick play. They had the pass by Zaquandre White that went incomplete. But really –
that should have been pass interference, by the way. That was bad. That's not going to change the game. But just so people, that was pass interference. I heard a lot of people talking about that, and there's a little bit of holding going on. None of that's going to change the outcome of the game. As far as offense, you're right. It was vanilla, and I was shocked. I was, one of the things you brought up last week in asking me a question was, what can they do against this rush? And you had already answered the question: screens and draws, and we never saw them. No quarterback draw, the kid's mobility, starting quarterback's mobility, I thought was pretty good. He runs it pretty well. And just a little bit, even if it's a 3 or 4 yard gain, you slow the rush down. Draw to their running backs. Their running backs, once you get them going north and south, can run against anybody, including Clemson. But they didn't even try it. I leaned hard on some of my insiders down there after the game. Nobody really had an answer to why they were so vanilla feel. And it was interesting to hear their input. What I saw basically was, a guy in Shane Beamer who was crying after they beat Auburn. And I just think emotionally the coaching staff was a little bit flat on the offensive side. I don't know where his background is. Really, I think he's done a little bit of both, but the effort was good by the kids. They just got outclassed, and offensively, they didn't give themselves a chance because you got to take chances in a game when you're that big of an underdog. You got to do something to get the momentum to throw Clemson off balance. We just never saw it.
Mm-hmm.
1st and 10 with Zach Willis here tonight on Sports Talk, looking back at the South Carolina Clemson game, won by the Tigers 30-0. And Coach, I agree with you. I thought they were considerably vanilla, and that was one thing I was impressed with when Michigan came out and did everything, sort of went back deep in the playbook to beat Ohio State. But are we looking at it too difficult, or is it naive to believe that the difference between South Carolina and Clemson right now is strictly at the line of scrimmage? It appered to me that the Gamecocks could not block that defensive front for Clemson, and certainly could not get enough pressure and slow down the run game of Clemson when the Tigers came out offensively. So does it basically boil down to South Carolina just has to get better on both lines of scrimmage?
Well, obviously, I'm going to be honest. I wish I spent a lot of time until I got to Michigan State with the offensive line. I spent a little bit more time with the quarterback there. It feels well documented. I think you're right, but again, I go back to scheme. When you see a counter team, anybody out there, if you coach in Little League football or high school or the NFL, if you want to stop the counter play, you've got to your defensive linemen have to penetrate into the backfield. It has to happen if you want to stop those teams. And you can't go out of control. You've got to play the block, but you have to get a yards penetration. And I didn't invent that. A guy named Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wannstedt brought it to an art form at the University of Miami, and then with the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers that Phil loves so much did a great job of it in their heyday too. and they're not bad now either. When you look at the teams across the board, obviously Clemson has that advantage. The two things I saw really was the scheme on defense, and then the other one was Shane Beamer. And again, this goes back to lack of experience, but his kids have to see him. He should have got in the referee's grill a couple of times. There were a lot of missed calls in this football game, and not to put on a show, but to show his kids he was in the fight with them. They were complaining that they were getting held, and Clemson's going to hold you. They're going to do whatever referees let them do, like any team. The pass interference call was really bad on the trick play. That was a great call. They didn't even contest it. Go down there, get in the ref's face, and light him up. You don't got to get thrown out of the game. I'm not saying, but kids, especially kids that come from tough backgrounds, me being one of them, okay? When I saw my coaches fight for me, I knew he was in it with me. He had some skin in the game. And I felt like watching what was going on, it seemed like even in the play calling, they were kind of shrinking away from things. Not afraid, but just really conservative and just really trying to feel their way along and not get embarrassed. Now, their kids, I thought they played as hard as any Carolina team I've seen in a long time. Right down to the end, stopped on the 2 or 3 yard line, letting it all hang out, diving for knowing they're not going to win. I was very proud of the way they played, and honestly, you kind of got to nitpick. The scheme wasn't great. I don't like the scheme, but everybody likes different schemes. I think that Clemson is better everywhere in South Carolina, but you can't take transfers from 1AA schools and Division II schools. You need to take people. You want to take a transfer from a Notre Dame or an Alabama, I'm all for it. But they've got to get realistic and look, will this kid help us catch up to Clemson when they're taking a transfer or recruiting a kid? They've got to do their best to project that, because that's what matters. Dabo said it best. Now, he lost this game 5 times in a row. He's been beating this game. He understands how important it is. And he didn't shy away from that. I don't think Coach Beamer did either. But hopefully, he goes back and says, okay, there's our target. If we can beat them, we can beat anybody.
As always, Zach, we appreciate the breakdown and the insight, and we will get back with you around bowl time when things start to come together for South Carolina, wherever they're headed, hopefully headed somewhere at 6-6. Yeah. They're going to be in the last group there from the SEC, and there is going to be a team at 500 or better not to go to a bowl game because they're won over the available bowl spots. Not saying that'll be South Carolina. I still think they'll end up somewhere. And Clemson looks like Jacksonville or Orlando or San Diego for them. We'll get back with you during bowl season. As always, we appreciate your contributions to Sports Talk, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, congratulations to Coach Beamer. He finished way ahead of schedule. I wanted to slip that in. Thank you, guys.
All right, my friend. Thanks, you very
Coach.
much. Zach Willis, 1st and 10. And, we're wrapping up a number of segments this week because of the end of this portion of the season. But they'll be back. They'll be back come bowl season and get insight from them. Yeah, he's, talking about the transfer portal. Spencer Rattler, the Oklahoma quarterback, has put his name in there. And you wonder the connection that Beamer has to him from his time at Oklahoma. Will South Carolina be a place he will look at? That's a guy that has passed for over 4,000 yards in his career.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for those 65 and older, long-term care residents, and those 18 and older with underlying medical conditions or at high risk. See if you're eligible at scdhec.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxfax.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there. offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
The Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl is back for 2021, showcasing the best South Carolina high school football has to offer. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com and make your plans to join us in Myrtle Beach on December 11th in celebration of Palmetto State All-Stars from the Upstate, Midlands, PD, Grand Strand, and Low Country. Visit TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com for a full schedule of the week's events leading up to the game and Mr. Football South Carolina Award presentation. Past winners include Stephen Gilmore, Marcus Lattimore, Jadavian Clowney, and Luke Doty.
It's definitely an honor, to be recognized as one of the best players in South Carolina. These guys are definitely deserving of the award as well. So it really is just an honor, to be named Mr. Football.
That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl, kicking off at Myrtle Beach High School's Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium, 12:30 Saturday, December 11th. Get your tickets now at TouchstoneEnergyBowl.com.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
All right, recruiting in Mick in just a moment. Pete Thimmel reporting LSU is going to name Notre Dame's Brian Kelly their next head coach. An announcement could come as early as tomorrow. My question is, when's the last time Notre Dame had a coach leave on his own to take another job? That doesn't happen to Notre Dame.
Never.
Tim Beret, Tim, if you're listening, when's the last time Notre Dame had a coach leave to take another job without first being fired? All right,
And
to
now
recruiting.
before we get to that, the Notre Dame job is open. How big a deal is that?
Oh, it's
How
huge.
good a job is Notre Dame?
It's obviously huge. All right, time is short. We get to our recruiting report brought to you by Seawells and the Daily Luncheon Buffet, up and running this week after the holiday at Seawells. Make sure you get out and enjoy that 11 to 2. And, of course, for the very best in the catering business, Seawells at 803-771-7385, SeawellsCateringSC.com. On the net, one of the visitors of USC Saturday, linebacker Morvin Joseph, 6'2", 215. He's a transfer from Tennessee out of Lakeland, Florida. He picked Tennessee a couple of years ago over Florida and Florida State. Things did not work out for him at Tennessee. Didn't play a lot in his 2 seasons there. He enjoyed the visit to South Carolina. He said he was offered by the Gamecocks. They're looking at outside linebackers. He watched the outside linebackers, liked how they use the outside linebackers. Doesn't have any other visits lined up right now, though he might go to Florida State and he might go to FAU for a visit, and he plans to make his decision by December 15th. The mom of wide receiver Antonio Williams of Dutch Fork told us today that they are expecting in-home visits this week with Clemson and Auburn. He took an official to Auburn over the weekend. He's also been to USC and Ole Miss officially, unofficially to Clemson. Running back Trevor Etienne of Jennings, Louisiana, is down to Clemson, LSU, and Florida. According to a report on Rivals, he has set January 8th for his commitment announcement at the All-American game. He took an official to Florida this past weekend. He is scheduled to visit Clemson officially in a couple of weeks. USC target 2023 running back Dalen Smothers of Charlotte was offered by Ohio State. He has a Gamecock offer and has visited twice. 2023 defensive tackle Stefan Green of Rome, Georgia. 2023 running back Jalen Johnson of Baxley, Georgia. 2024 tight end Luca Puccinelli of Richmond were among those visiting USC Saturday. Northwestern quarterback Will Madison committed to Gardner-Webb. 2023 receiver Apollo Cook of River Bluff offered by Marshall. He was at East Carolina Saturday. 23 quarterback Aliam Appler of Dutch Fork was at Duke Saturday. Ridgeview offensive tackle Trey Franklin, PWO offer from USC. Former Westside defensive back Lummy Young transferring from Duke as a grad transfer. And that is our recruiting tonight.
And once again, Miami shows a bunch of pressure. 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage. Big rush.
And they got it. Blocked it. A blocked punt. Dolphins pick it up at the 1, pushing towards the goal line. They'll score a touchdown.
He backed his way over the goal line into the end zone for the score.
All right, the voice of the Panthers, Mick Mixon, is with us. You want to sum this one up in one word for us?
Terrible.
That's a good word. That's a very good word. I could have used that word or a couple of others. What happened?
First of all, Corn, my job would be a lot easier if the Federal Communications Commission would relax some of their language standards, especially during a game like that. I was a little bit, I'm just one guy. Just kind of just my opinion, but I really thought the Panthers, from everything I could pick up on, had a good week of practice, were really optimistic, felt like they knew what Miami was going to do to attack them, had a good plan for it, but nothing worked. Offense, defense, special teams. Our broadcast booth was way in the corner, couldn't open the windows. I could go on and on about that trip.
But, hey, man, you did get a chance to get down to South Beach, I'm sure.
Yeah, my dental floss-like arms down at South Beach didn't fit in too well, so I just stayed close to the hotel. It's a different culture down there, Corn. Have you ever been down there?
It reminds me a lot of my hometown of Latta. Very similar.
Yeah, I'm sure. A lot of similarities. The pickup trucks, if you see a pickup truck down there, it's been surgically enhanced and lifted. And
oh, yeah.
It's quite
got
flashy.
And good stereo system. McCaffrey, he's done for the year again.
Yeah, that's a surprise, too. The indications early this morning, I got to the stadium about 8 this morning, 8:30. In time to hear Matt Rule say that he thought that it was going to be a minor thing. McCaffrey with the bye week would be able to go, but then an MRI revealed a little bit more damage, and so McCaffrey's on the shelf. This will open the door for not only Chuba Hubbard but Amir Abdullah to try to show what they can do in the run game.
Mick Mixon, the voice of the Panthers, with us here tonight. And Mick, after watching yesterday, clearly Cam Newton is not quite up to speed. Does he start coming out of the bye week, and how much does the bye week help him maybe to catch up with what Joe Brady wants to do on offense?
I think so, Chris. I got to talk to Cam because I'm not sure he knows that I'm retiring. I got 5 more games, and I'd like to go to my golden years at least with a few first downs, if not touchdowns.
You'd be happy with a first down.
Well, at this point, Cam Newton's quarterback rating was a puny 5.8. That's not far from Blutarski 0.0. But I really think, we're kidding around a little bit, I guess. It's just you got to laugh sometimes, as we say, to keep from crying. But I think to answer Chris's question, I think it's going to be Cam Newton. I think he's the guy for the rest of this season. And I think he'll play much better. I think with an additional week, the bye week, to learn the offense more, I think we're going to come out swinging a bunch of haymakers against Atlanta on December 12th.
All right, my friend. You enjoy the off week. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Corn. Be well.
Thank you. One other
Thanks,
thought
Mick.
about Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame. You know, Jalen Snead from Hilton Head, one of the state's top prospects, who was at USC.
Lawmakers returning to the